Hey guys, Seth here with Seth Francis Sim Racing, and I'm just going to do a quick video just as a guide for installation of my Seth Francis Sim Racing short shaft shift knob kit for the Thrustmaster TH8 and TH8A and TH8RS shifters. This is an example of one of them here, and I just kind of want to give a video to show the best way to install this shift knob kit, just to make sure, you know, people are doing it right, anybody who decides to buy the kit. And yeah, so anyways, when you receive your kit with the shift knob installed, for this particular style, as you can see, there's a collar on the bottom with the Hurst logo. So what you're going to want to do is loosen this collar. It's a little tough. Loosen it, but then bring it back so it's just barely snug, just hitting its stopping point. And you're going to take the shift knob with the shaft and everything installed. This is how the kit will come. The shaft is permanently installed into the shift knob, and you're going to thread the shift knob into the original threads in the Thrustmaster shifter, and you're going to thread it until it just barely becomes snug, and you're going to look at where the logo is. And as you can see, the logo is off right now, and I am whichever way is closest. If it's closest to turn the knob backwards counterclockwise to align the Hurst logo, then do that, which in this case it's a little over halfway, so the best thing to do is just go back a little less than a quarter turn to straighten out the logo. If you're, you could also go the other way and tighten it a little bit more. I usually leave plenty of thread inside the shifter before the shaft is going to bottom out. There's only so much thread that can go into the female threads in the shifter, but I usually will ship out these kits with only so much thread exposed, so you'd really have to turn it a good amount further and thread that rod further down into the shifter assembly in order for it to bottom out. Now, once you get it snug and the Hurst emblem is lined up, you're going to unthread the collar, and you're going to take either a 10mm open-ended wrench, or you're going to take a pair of needle nose pliers. I have an open-ended wrench. That's the best option, 10mm, so that's what I'm going to use. And there's a fastening nut right under the collar that you can see right here, right above the plastic sleeve. You're going to use the wrench to tighten that retaining nut while holding the shift knob in place, because again, you want the Hurst logo to be lined up. So you're going to turn that, tighten it, and you can put a halfway decent amount of force on this plastic spacer. I do ship out an extra plastic spacer in case anybody goes too far and buckles theirs, but you basically want to tighten it just enough so that you can, that clicking, just so you know, was nothing. It wasn't something breaking. It was my gear wrench here on my finger. So just so you know, just enough so that it's not going to rotate while using it. Then you're going to take the threaded collar, bring it back up, and if I held the shift knob in place properly, the Hurst logo should be lined up. You have to excuse me, shifting is not the greatest. I'm trying to reach up and over my wheel. You can see goes very smoothly in and out of the gates. This spacer is just slightly larger than the original spacer, so it fits nice and snugly in the gates. But the important thing is it's not too thick, so it doesn't grab and create resistance in first and second gear. If you go too thick when the shifter is over in the first and second gear, it'll get pinned between the gate, the plastic gate piece of the gate on the Thrustmaster shifter right here on this edge, and you know, the metal portion of the gate here. If you go too tight with this retaining nut, you can cause the spacer to buckle out a little bit, but as long as you don't go too tight to where it's starting to expand, that shouldn't be an issue, and you really shouldn't have to go that tight in order for it not to rotate during use. That's the way I recommend installing these. You know, I guess it's tempting to want to just unthread the shift knob like so, without using the retaining nut, but again, you know, for removing the shift knob, you know, that's okay, it's not going to hurt anything, but when you're installing the kit, you really want to use the retaining nut and only bring the shift knob snug by threading it by hand, because like I said, what can happen is that nut can end up being held in place by the spacer, and the threaded rod will continue to thread down inside the shifter, and you won't realize it's happening, and you know, you can damage the threads in your shifter if you don't realize, and you really would have to crank on it hard. But you know, it's just worth mentioning that the best way to do it is to use the retaining nut, and I ship these with only a little bit of thread showing. If you decide to bring the retaining nut up further for an even shorter fitment, I will always leave a line of electrical tape under this spacer, and that line is pretty much right at or right before the point where the threads will start to bottom out. So that way, you know, if you bring the nut up to lower the shifter more into the shifter, lower the shift knob more into the shifter assembly, you'll know as you bring the slider up, once you hit that electrical tape, you're just about getting to the point where the threads are going to bottom out in the female threads of the shifter assembly. But anyways, that's how it works. You can find information about this kit on my Google Plus page. Right now, this particular kit is $50 plus shipping anywhere in the world. I'm in the United States, but you know, I'll ship anywhere anywhere I need to. And there's also other designs available. And if you're interested, I can also make custom kits where basically you pick what shift knob you want from wherever you find it on the internet, and you know, if you show me the shift knob you're looking to use, give me a link to a page that has information on that shift knob, I can tell you if it'll work with the kit or not. The best type, if you're interested in looking, the best type of shift knob to use is one that has M16 threads inside, if you can see it on the camera, right inside of the shift knob, because if there's M16 threads, usually it's M16 by 1.5 I believe, I can use a brass threaded adapter to go right on to the threaded rod that I use to assemble these, and that provides a very, very tight permanent fitment. I use red Loctite, and I really tighten these rods to a significant force in these knobs, just so that they don't accidentally come off. You know, if somebody does decide to remove their shift knob by threading the whole assembly rather than just loosening the nut and then unthreading the whole assembly, you know, that way it doesn't accidentally unthread the knob from the rod. I want to make sure it's a permanent fitment and that it's fastened properly. But anyways, like I said, just wanted to give a quick video, so anybody who ends up with one of these kits knows the best way to install it. And like I said, if you're interested, check my Google Plus page, Seth Francis Sim Racing, or you can just message me here. I'm on a lot of the forums. I use the same name, Seth Francis. So like I said, feel free, and I'd love to hear some feedback. Thank you. Bye-bye.